What is up, everyone? Happy Memorial Day. Happy Monday. What's everyone up to? Anyone do anything fun for this Memorial Day? I just went and spent some time with family and basically just relaxed all day because I am beat after 2 days of working on the yard and trying to get the fence and everything together. I'm really busting ass butt right now so that I can actually get my certification done for general ham radio and everything. That's kind of been a goal of mine for a while. I put off for a while. And then, yeah, just been hustling, doing the thing that needs to be done. Spent the entire day revising for my security and networks exam. Nice. Yeah, I still got to get on my CCSP, but I also wanted to get on general ham radio because I want to get into HF frequencies, and you kind of need that. I did just sign up for the Emergency Communications 101 course over on Ham Radio Prep, which if anyone wants to get a 10% discount, you always can with my code ChiefGeek3D. It's a great little platform for you to learn anything about radio and everything. I used them when I was going through technician, but general, it's just taking a little bit more study and time. But I'm working on getting my CCSP certification, at least for my own jollies. I want to get that knocked out this year. Probably going to do it after DEF CON. I've kind of been burned out for a while, which is why I haven't gotten too much into my tech projects because just was tired. That's why I also took a couple of days off from work, on top of working around the house and everything. So, yeah. But things are happening. I'll get to working on some tinkering projects in a future stream. I need to work on this little guy over here, get this ready for DEF CON. I want that to be my little note-taking device that I can take with a cell internet connection and then walk around with a USB battery pack to keep it powered so I don't have to always use my regular laptop, because carrying a regular laptop is fine and all, but you're not really going to need most of that power, whereas this is perfect, I think, for a lot of the reasons I'm going to need it at DEF CON. And then I'm also going to prep my main laptop as well, to see if I can do any live streaming while I'm over at DEF CON. Of course, while I'm at DEF CON, if I do any streaming, I won't be streaming to the multiple platforms that I'm doing now. Part of that reason is, well, bandwidth considerations. So while I am over at DEF CON, it will probably be Twitch focused. If there is a TikTok live stream, it may be directly on the app, but we'll see. Chuck some, people watch Corn before going to sleep. I watch Chief. Well, I mean, I was going to say something, but I'm not sure TikTok would be just too thrilled with that. But I'm just saying, I can turn your circuits on. But yeah, so I am working on a bunch of little projects over here. Why is my TikTok not feeding into the chat over here? Give me 1 second to see if I can fix that. AK Penguin is vibe. That's not an AK in there, just to make that clear. It's bullpup. Okay, bringing the TikTok in. And let's see. Okay, yeah, so now it's coming in. Cool. I don't know what was happening. I have this tool over here, Social Stream Ninja, that brings in the Twitch, YouTube, and TikTok chats, and that's how I try to consolidate all the chats, because before in earlier streams you'd see me whipping around because I'd have all the monitors to see everything, but this made life easier. But yeah, it wasn't bringing in the chats for some reason. Go figure. Tech fail. But I am going to be working on some more tinkering projects. I do have to, on this little laptop over here, install a new Wi-Fi antenna, move that around because it's like right over on the edge over here, and I feel like the placement of it is causing issues because the signal is propagating this way. It's spreading out, so it's laying flat, and the signal's going to go out like spreading out that way as well as more of a vertical, and of course it's going to be hitting the case. That was bad orientation on their part. So what I'm going to try doing is, because the case is normally opened while you're using it, I'm going to try placing it somewhere down here, maybe on the side over here if necessary, and then I'm going to put a 5G cell antenna in here to work with the 4G cell modem that I have, so that way I can get cellular data in here so I don't always have to use the wireless connection when I'm out and about and traveling. This will be a great little companion travel laptop. So far I've gotten about 2.5 hours of battery life out of it. I got to do some more testing. It ain't yours unless the warranty is voided. Ever heard of the Internet in a Box? It's an interesting, fun project with the Raspberry Pi. Yeah, I've seen it. There's been various iterations of it over the years, but I haven't really set it up myself. Like I said earlier, I've been a little bit burned out from work and just all the things I'm doing, which is why I'm really enjoying turning off my brain for a little bit so that I can work on the house and getting the fence set up for the dogs and everything, which, by the way, I got to take Barack to the groomers because he is in need of grooming. His shaggy coat is catching a little bit too much stuff. He definitely needs a bath, needs his nails trimmed, and, well, he's getting mats around his mouth that, like, they're turning into, like, proper dreads, basically. So, yeah, I got to get him cleaned up. I'm going to try to get him groomed at least twice a year. How much gifts do you have on your phone? Not really that many. Because when it comes to gifts and everything, those are usually on my desktop and things like that. Although it's kind of funny how at work, they kind of know me as the guy that's going to respond in GIF form for a lot of things. My boss even asked, do you just keep these in a folder somewhere? I say, 90% of them are probably already on Teams. They're the ones they're using. But there's a few that are out there that Teams doesn't really have. So, yeah. Oh, how many gigs do you have on your phone? Normally, I keep at least 128. I don't use most of it. My phone is very basic. I don't do a lot with my phone. There's like photos and videos that people send me of things, but it's not really packed to the brim. I might go to a 256 if I go to a Pixel 10 to store things more locally, but I think one of the issues that a lot of people have with phones is they use their phone as an everything device. And this is a problem I see with a lot of the like Gen Z, Gen Alpha, the ones that grew up with only having phones. Whereas we millennials and older, we had a myriad of different devices. So we actually will be more likely to segment a lot of our devices, where it's like we have our computer to do our thing, we have our laptop, our cell phone to do another thing. We compartmentalize a little bit. Did you see the student visa fiasco? You talking about the Harvard one, where they're like trying to go after student visas and everything? Yeah. Schmucko in chief is going to definitely cause a lot of problems for us, because they don't seem to understand that how do we encourage the best and the brightest to come here? Well, you get the best and the brightest to come here, and then, yeah. It's kind of interesting how you have a lot of these people in politics that are so anti-intellectual that they're doing some of the most unintellectual things. Some people in it think it's a good idea. I don't really necessarily think it's a good idea. Do we need to possibly reform some of the visa things? Well, I think that goes overall into a whole discussion of we need immigration reform as a whole. It really hasn't changed all that much since my family came into this country. My family, for those of you that don't know, I'm Moroccan, I am first generation, and the things my family had to do to get into this country were not easy. We had to get sponsors, all of this stuff, and I think the path to citizenship should be easier. The problem why you have so many people that are illegal that come into this country is because the path isn't easy to begin with. Now, I'm not saying it should be, like, extremely easy, like, I'm here! Give me citizenship. But it should be a little bit easier than the path that we currently have that requires a lot. Yep, I'm Moroccan. Keep on Moroccan me, baby. Salam alaikum. I think the job market will be less competitive, but no. Here's the thing. There are a lot of people all over that are really bright for any given job. And I'm not just talking about technology. And you have to understand, one of the ways that America is able to compete against other countries is, if you're going to start a business, the business climate here is a lot better than, say, Europe, if you ever need to do fundraising. Trust me on this. I've gone through with people that were trying to expand into Europe and build businesses out there, and it's apples and oranges in building a U.S. and doing fundraising versus Europe, and as well as getting financing and everything. There's a reason why people would rather start their business here. And that includes foreigners and foreign investment. So you would be shooting yourself in the foot if you're just solely thinking about, well, it's going to make the job market easier. But when a lot of those jobs are financed by foreigners to begin with, that then shoots your job market in the foot. The problem that we have with a lot of this country, and taking a more macro look than just tech, is we look at short-term solutions, but we don't actually think about knock-on effects. We only think about what's staring us right in the face, but a lot of the moves that we are looking at doing to improve the U.S. economy and U.S. as a whole cut off the nose to spite the face. Just look at tariffs. Okay, we're going to tax everything that's coming into America, and we're going to, make America produce more stuff. Not realizing America doesn't have the raw materials for a lot of stuff. I know a lot of people say, well, we can do rare earth minerals. Rare earth minerals aren't everything. There is a lot of raw materials we do not have in abundance with, either it be just in raw form or the processing capability of it. And then on top of it, we're missing a lot of specialized education and everything. And everyone that keeps going, well, we need to go back to where America was great in the 1950s and we manufactured everything. Well, what happened after the 1940s? We had World War II. What did World War II end up doing? Destroying most of the world. People think of World War II as just happening in Europe, but they forget about the bombings in Japan, and they forget about the Japanese-Chinese war side of things that were going on in that area with the Japanese empire expansions and everything. The Chinese economy and land and everything was devastated, which is why you had Mao Zedong grow up versus Zhang Jixi, or as some people know him as Chiang Kai-shek, and then went into the whole Taiwan thing. We're not going to get too much into that. But the world was destroyed, and it took several decades to rebuild. To wit, if you look at even Germany, where they split it in half, I think it was the East? Yeah, I think it was the East was towards the Allies, and the West went towards, the communist side of things. The West is still rebuilding because of the issues that the communist side of things brought upon it compared to the East. And so are the manufacturing and economic capabilities out in the West, with the exclusion of Berlin, because Berlin also was split in half. That's a whole other thing. East was Russian, West was Allies. Okay, so I got it reversed. But either way... Wait, really? But I remember when I was talking to my German friends when I actually lived out in Germany. I did live in Germany for a while. They were telling me the one side of the country still is rebuilding from when we had the, division. And it's interesting to see that. I thought was it the East? Okay, yeah. I couldn't remember. Look, brain no worky right now. East is closer to... Brain fart. I could totally confused East and West. That was, that's on me. Do you not see the energy drink in my hands? Okay? Trying to get some wakey juice in my brain. Because immediately I was like, wait a minute. East Coast, West Coast. Oh, right. I flipped it in my mind for some reason. Anyway. But yeah, so, that's you have a lot of the world that was rebuilding post World War II. That is why the United States gained this dominance economically. We were producing for the rest of the world. If you remember, it was only a few decades ago. China was synonymous with cheap products, crap products. But now, China is the manufacturing hub for the entire world, not just the USA. Whereas the US has lost a lot of our manufacturing capabilities because we can't afford to pay the workers in the US what a US worker would want to be paid. That's just how economies work and everything like that. I'm not saying that, people shouldn't be paid that wage in America. That's not the argument I'm making. I'm saying the reality is the average person in America isn't going to want to do the jobs that we're outsourcing to India, Vietnam, Malaysia, China for the prices we're paying those respective countries. That's just how it is. So we're cutting the nose off to spite the face. Like Donald Trump is trying to threaten Apple to, make the iPhone in the USA. But we saw firsthand. So there's a phone. I've shown this off a little bit before. I don't recommend buying this phone, but it's a Librem 5. It's an interesting concept of a full Linux phone. Yeah, it's chonky. A privacy phone. This phone here, they make in China, but they also make a US edition that is made in the US. And they're marketing that as a security product. But do you know what the price difference between these two is? I'll show you. Because it's astronomical. And it's the exact same device. And the only difference with the US version is it has 4 gigabytes of RAM versus 3. Which I think if anyone is, knows even the basics of tech, that's not that much more of a cost increase to warrant what's going to happen. So we'll go to Purism, and we'll go to their website. Boris promised we would build back better and restart manufacturing, but it simply didn't happen. Exactly. Hey, look at it. It's almost 2x the price. Okay? Yeah. So you have the Librem 5 and the Liberty phone. Okay? This phone here. Okay? Same phone I just showed. Interesting concept. Don't think it was, properly applied, all that. $799. Okay? That's how much this is. Yes, it's a little bit of expensive of a phone, but it's a boutique phone. It's not mass-produced. This phone, all right, so from 32 gigs of eMMC to 128 and 4 gigabytes of RAM. That's effectively a $100 price in, cost increases. The US version is $2,000. The exact same phone with just 4 times the eMMC storage and 1 gigabyte more of memory, which at most would warrant maybe a $150 cost increase if you're making it in the same facility. But because you have US people in a US factory making this device, It's now $2,000. This is the exact same situation you will pretty much see with an Apple iPhone if it's made in the US. You think an iPhone's already expensive as it is? At $700, $800? It will be close to $2,000 of a phone. Even if Apple somehow manages to reduce the cost through economies of scale, you'd still be looking at an iPhone that's $1,400, $1,500. Plus, most manufacturing companies have been pushing more automation. That's the other factor I didn't even mention, is that more companies bringing manufacturing back to the USA are more likely to automate a lot of the functions than they are to hire individuals to do the job, for two reasons. You can't find enough Americans that are willing to sit there and screw in a screw and do all the little tiny menial labor things that need to be done to make an iPhone, as you can in a lot of the other countries, that they will just get a robot to do the same thing. You have the autonomous arms that, do all the repetition actions you can program it to do. That's like what? $100,000, $200,000 for a unit? Okay. How much does it cost to pay an employee in the US? What's the average? About $50,000 a year? That's not even including benefits. So between $50,000, payroll taxes, and benefits, you're probably, I'm just going to round up the number to make it easy, costing $100,000 per year. An automated robotic arm will be a better investment because you'll get your return on investment in like 2, 3, 4 years. And you can reprogram that robot. And that robot will never tire. It will never quit. It will never demand a break. It will never demand sleep. Dave Chappelle said iPhone will cost $9,000. Well, that's Dave Chappelle being, comedic for the pricing, but he's not wrong in the concept there. Which Pixel phone do you recommend that works best with Graphene OS? If you have a 9A, like you're talking about, that was someone else saying, 9A, it's perfectly fine. The main thing is you go to this site, endoflife.date, which is a great resource for those of you that don't know about it already. This is how you can go and see the end of life of any products out there. So if you're seeing on the side, yeah, you can see it over on the TikTok side. You can see all the different ones out there. So let's say Google Pixel. As long as it is still receiving Android and security updates, you can still use it. So for right now, you can still use Graphene OS on a Pixel 6 for 1 year and 4 months to get updates. I'm still on a Pixel 7a. So I got roughly 3 years for my little 7a. I'm considering getting a Pixel 10 and maybe making that my primary device in the next few months. I got to play with it. We'll see. I like the Pixel 10 and what's coming about, and yeah, we'll see. Maybe I'll get it the end of this year. Maybe I'll get it next year. Maybe I'll wait for the 10A. We'll see. But just go to endoflife.date. Find a phone that you're looking at that's still being supported. Get something that at least is going to reasonably still be supported for the lifespan you want to have your phone. Like, okay, you can still get, the 8As and 9As. So if you want the 9A, you'll get roughly 7 years of support if you buy it right now. But don't stress out with having to get the latest and greatest. It just has to be a Google Pixel phone to work with Graphene. They unfortunately don't support anything other than that. I've got an old Redmi Pro. What can I do with it? Any project ideas? Not sure what runs on that. You can maybe look at, I think Calyx is the same issue, though. Calyx, I think, runs only on Pixels and stuff. Maybe Lineage OS. There's a few other Androids out there you can probably throw on it, but I don't know. Cheaper to use automation, and you hire less employees to run those machines. Yep. Don't forget the training that you have to provide to people. This is true, too. It takes the average person starting a job about 2 to 3 months to really be at peak efficiency from all the things you have to know at the nuances of the company. Maybe not peak, but at least, you know, they can reasonably do their job. I mean, I'm going and do a major in comp sci science. What? I'm doing CAD drawing design. What about many into loophole? That wording. Can you fix that? Because I think I'm making out what you're saying, but not really. What about mini PC Intel NUC 8th Gen support? Now, if you're doing CAD drawing, you're going to need a little bit more oomph than that. Well, if you're doing 3D rendering CAD, you're going to need a GPU. That's just straight up honest truth. Not saying you would need it, but you would want a NVIDIA Quadro or a Radeon Pro, because you're going to need double precision and a lot more accuracy. So if you're doing 3D rendering, I would look at the more professional GPUs, but you can get away with like the NVIDIA RTX and what do you call it? The Radeon series of different things. You don't need anything too high end, but yeah, there is a reality, there is an understanding that people have to have when it comes to professional GPUs, is they're optimized for not rendering frames in the way like video games are in terms of performance. They are number crunchers. And there is a huge difference you'll notice in professional workloads with a Quadro and a Radeon Pro versus a non-Quadro and non-Radeon Pro GPU. In gaming, you won't notice much difference. But they are a little bit more money. I'm just being honest. Don't forget your painkiller for your knees. That's called not being old. I jumped off the truck yesterday, and oh my God, I felt that shock in my knees, and I'm like, yep, can't do that again. I remember in college, I used to jump off the truck with a whole moonshine still in my hands and not even bat an eye at it. I'm old. Yeah, for those of you that don't know, when I was in college, I used to shine and do other fun things. It ain't hard to make. It ain't hard to make booze, just telling you. It's a fun chemistry experiment. But you do have to know that the top you need to throw out because that's methanol. And that's where you get, bad juju. What do you recommend for a beginner home lab setup? It's more so about what you're planning to do with it and what your cost, the budget, everything is. Are you doing networking? Are you trying to do a cloud lab? You don't even need any physical hardware if you're doing a cloud lab because, you can spin up AWS, OVH, DigitalOcean, whatever you need. Throw together stuff if you're like trying to figure out Terraform and doing all that stuff. If you're trying to do a home network lab, you can get a secondhand PC, throw in, Intel network interface card, throw a pfSense box together, get some, networked switches, whether it be TP-Link, Netgear, if you want, throw Unify on and then learn about network tagging and read the pfSense manual. There's so many ways you can go about it. If you can get your hands on some secondhand Cisco gear, that's cool too. It's more about being creative with what you need to tackle your goals rather than any specific recommendations. Now, if you want to get some ideas, you can definitely go check out. There is a pinned post in the general section of my Discord server. HBX shared a PDF that's about 14.5 megabytes with 600 pages of dozens of different home labbing projects you can do and different things you can learn from it, whether it be networking, cybersecurity, SimSOAR, things like that. That's in the pinned comment section of the Discord in the general section. You can find the links for my Discord and all that in my bio or the links on the respective channel you're on, Twitch, YouTube, TikTok. So yeah. I used RX 6750 XT to brute force Hashcat 99 care. It didn't even take half an hour. It's nuts. Oh yeah. A GPU is a lot better at number crunching than a CPU is because a GPU is parallel processing to the extreme compared to an x86 CPU. Because you got to think about it when we're talking about, what is it, shader cores and all that, and they talk about like there's several hundred in there. That means there's several hundred processing cores in there. Like a GPU is really great at parallel processing. There's a whole concept around GPU processing to, offload to the GPU for many things. It's called GPGPU, General Purpose Graphics Processing Unit. If you look at like the at-home, like folding at home, SETI at home, those kind of things, where you can actually donate your GPU power to these projects where you have things that, need a supercomputer but don't have a supercomputer. You can use your GPU in idle time to like help unfold proteins to go after like autoimmune diseases and all that for scientists to better understand. GPUs are far more capable at doing all this processing. It's the same reason why a lot of cryptocurrency processing relies on GPU over CPU, with the exception of ASIC, but ASIC is more specialized. The reason all electronics companies source components from China, such as chips and RAMs, is that these items cannot be manufactured in the USA and are cheaper there. So, it's not that they cannot be manufactured in the USA. It's that they cannot be manufactured in the USA at a cost-effective price. You still have, I think like in Virginia, you have semiconductor manufacturing facilities and things like that in the US. We made a lot of those components as well. But the problem is, to make a lot of those same components, like the cost of making a resistor, a capacitor, a diode, inductors, things like that, it's a lot more expensive to be done in the USA. A lot of that has to do with the labor regulations we have, the cost of living we have, the requirements that go around, and all that, but yeah. How about Intel? Well, at 16 gigabytes of memory, you're still talking too little. No joke. You'll want at least 32 gigabytes of RAM memory for you when you're doing professional workloads like CAD, CAM, things like that. Ideally, you're going to want 64 gigabytes or more. And I emphasize on the or more. The more complex tasks you are doing, the more power you're going to want. And the other thing is, you may find that a NUC is going to be kind of anemic when it comes to professional workloads because thermal throttling. An i7 may not be the best CPU for that. You're going to be wanting to look at, like, for professional workloads where you're doing a lot of processing. That's why I like a Radeon, a Ryzen, Ryzen 9 5950X I have in my machine. 16 cores, 32 threads. You're going to be looking at the bigger CPUs with lots of memory and lots of storage. Now, this isn't true for everything out there, but when you're talking about CAD CAM, more memory is better. And the honest truth is, you may want to consider ECC memory. A system that supports ECC memory, error correction code. Caffeine, please hit me now. Error correction code. The reason why is because you can potentially have flipped bits inside your memory. It's not often that it happens, but it makes your memory a lot more stable. And that also, ECC, yeah. And the issue with that is you're not going to find it on Intel consumer CPUs. You're going to be looking at an Intel Xeon CPU because Intel doesn't allow ECC on their consumer side of things. Now, when you're on the AMD side of things, technically they support ECC, but that's now a motherboard limitation. So, like, for example, my Ryzen 9 5950X can support ECC. But I have to find a motherboard that supports it. So, but when you start getting into like the Epics and the Threadripper CPUs, that's where it's a little bit more common. ECC, error correction code. Echo Charlie Charlie. So, yeah, the honest truth is when you're talking about more professional workloads, you're going to be looking at like a Quadro, a Radeon Pro GPU. You're going to be looking at ECC. You're going to be looking at like an Epic or Threadripper CPU with a Xeon, or on the Intel side, a Xeon CPU. It's not always needed, but it's definitely recommended. And especially as you get more and more into the professional side, definitely leans more from recommendation to requirement, especially if you're doing like aerodynamic engineering and things like that require super precision. Yeah, you're going to need more than just off-the-shelf computer components that you can get for a consumer build. This isn't something you'll need to know for gaming, but a lot of the people that do gaming design may want to look at this kind of stuff too. I've been using Linux since 2021. I'm trying to break into cybersecurity. I'd love to build my own server one day. Nice. Well, server isn't, anything special. All a server is a computer that is serving data. That's all it is. So a server could be a Raspberry Pi, just serving data on your network. It doesn't have to be a big behemoth rack-mounted machine. It's just a box that is serving data. That's all it is. So don't overthink it. It could be even you're in AWS. You can have an EC2 appliance, DigitalOcean, Linode, just have a little VPS there. What do you think of Linux sysadmin as a career? It's definitely a career choice. There's definitely opportunities out there. Now, if you're doing Linux sysadmin, you're probably going to be leaning more into the Red Hats, your Red Hat Enterprise Linuxes, your, whatchamacallem. Yeah, well, AWS Linux and stuff is, like, based on that. You're not going to find Ubuntu and all those other operating systems people use as much in the enterprise side. They tend to be more on the Red Hat Enterprise Linux based. Not to say that you won't come across them, but more likely you're going to be using Red Hat because Red Hat has a support model that works better towards businesses. Now, Canonical on Ubuntu has the same thing, but it's not as popular, and a lot of enterprise software builds out for Red Hat as opposed to Ubuntu. Didn't Apple used to source their C? Wait, what? I don't know what you mean by that. I use Linux on dual boot. I was thinking to switch to Linux as a primary. How does the gaming work? It works fine. The only issue you have is devs that still believe in the flawed idea that is kernel level anti-cheat. We'll be playing Doom, the Dark Ages in a little bit here, but all the gaming I've been doing on my streams is running on Linux pretty fine. For the most part, I install Steam, I hit install the game, I hit play. I may install Proton GE just to get a little bit better performance. I may enable Linux kernel preemption for a little better performance. You can't play FIFA on Linux. Did you not listen to what I said about the flawed idea of kernel level anti-cheat? And here's the reality. There are tens of thousands of other games out there. Pick another one. If your argument is, well, this one game doesn't work because of kernel level anti-cheat, well, pick another game. It's not like there aren't thousands of other games that keep you occupied. Sent you a friend request on Instagram. Well, there's your problem. I'm not on Instagram. I mean, I have an account there, but I don't use Instagram. Stop it. You're like those Redditors. You say, leave Facebook. They steal your data. There are tens of thousands of other games, buddy. I don't care even if it's on Windows. If I were playing games on Windows, I still wouldn't do kernel level anti-cheat. Kernel level anti-cheat is a dumb idea that is going to have a lot of problems. In fact, it already has. Genshin Impact had their kernel-level anti-cheat exploited, basically used as part of an attack chain, so that it was actually turning off people's antivirus. And they gave the proof of concept to have that, patched possibly by the developer of Genshin Impact. They didn't do anything for over a year. Gaming developers are not security developers. And Microsoft is even admitting, yeah, maybe we should move a lot of our security functions outside of, the kernel. Because the problem is people are abusing kernel level access. The only thing I trust to have kernel level access is actual security software by security companies. I need to leave TikTok, but I still want to keep in touch. I'm on other platforms. I have a whole Discord server, Animatrix server. I'm on Twitch. I'm on YouTube. I have the Itch Launcher on Linux. Itch Launcher? Haven't used that one. I'm using Heroic, Steam, and, Lutris. Couldn't remember the name. What's up, Alexandria? How's it going, buddy? All games with kernel level anti-cheat are usually trash. Give them up for something better. Yeah, totally. And we've proven that games don't necessarily need it, because what was it? A few games worked fine on it until they decided to add that garbage. You had League of Legends used to work on Linux. Well, to be fair, that's not really a good argument. League of Legends, just that. Okay, let's skip over League of Legends. But you had Apex. Apex used to work on Linux until EA decided, hey, we're going to, add this kernel level anti-cheat in. And the funny thing was, apparently the exploit that they had happen inside of Apex a few months ago wasn't even tied to a kernel level anti-cheat. It was tied to bad programming there because, well, EA. And their argument for why they added kernel level anti-cheat was, well, most of the cheaters are coming from Linux. And then on the other hand, we're saying, but there's also not a lot of people gaming on Linux for it to really matter. And I'm like, so either most of your cheaters are on Linux, which means there is a good segment of gamers that are actually playing on Linux, or there isn't enough. Like, you can't have your cake and eat it too. I didn't understand that argument they gave. I'm looking at Tuxedo Company, looking at System 76 before, huge price diff. Tuxedo is great. I have a Tuxedo laptop. It's upstairs. I have their, the Stellaris 15. I got their Ryzen and NVIDIA GPU combo one. It's a great laptop. I'm just not a fan of Tuxedo OS, but I put System 76 Pop OS on Tuxedo, added the Tuxedo Control Center, and I've had zero issues with it. Most of the time now, I'm running on the AMD CPU integrated GPU of it, as to oppose the NVIDIA dedicated GPU, but the 4070 is there for whenever I need to use it. Now, System 76 is a great company, too. Do not get me wrong. I'm not knocking them by any means. I have my little pangolin over here for the past 2-3 years. I set this guy up more to be, my little tinkering device. Like, I need to reinstall Parrot OS on there. It had System 76 because I had to do something. But System 76 just didn't have an AMD CPU and NVIDIA GPU option, which was what I was particularly looking for. But System 76 is a great company, too. I like their Pop OS distribution. I use it for my desktop. I use it for my laptops. And I think they're a great, choice. Either way, you're in good hands with both Tuxedo and System 76. I have nothing negative to say about either company. I, in fact, use System 76's keyboards. This is the Launch Heavy over here. And on my stream PC, I have the Launch, the one without the numpad. Great keyboards, great devices altogether. Yeah, so, yeah, my pleasure. You'll be happy with either one. It's more personal preference which you're going to use. Now, the main differences in terms of manufacturing, Tuxedo is based in Germany. So, just giving you that understanding that there may be a tariff hit. I bought my laptop before tariffs started, but when I bought my laptop, there was no import duty on laptops. So, I don't know what the situation is right now. bear that in mind. My understanding is there's a 10% tariff being proposed on EU, or I think that already went into effect. System 76 is based out of Colorado, so you may not have that additional tariff. However, that doesn't mean the components on the System 76 machines themselves won't be tariffed, and that won't translate into a higher cost. So weigh the pros and cons of each company. Both of them will be really great. I think you'll be really happy with them. The build quality on both of them is fantastic. I have no real complaints. Yeah. I've loved it. I personally like my Tuxedo computer a little bit better because of a few features it has. But again, nothing against System 76. You're good in either way with, you know, those choices. The only thing that would make me happier on Linux is Unreal Engine working better, awful Wayland support, not being able to use plugins easily. Well, Wayland is still, you know, maturing. You have to understand, X11 has been around for decades. So it's very matured, it's very well supported, it's an extremely stable system. I still primarily am on X11 myself because of some of my applications, but Wayland is getting there. Now, Unreal Engine definitely has caused a little bit of a headache with Elder Scrolls Oblivion, but Elder Scrolls Oblivion, the remaster, was having a few issues even on Windows. But overall, I think it does okay on Linux. Of course, there's still, you know, more improvements that need to be done. Proton is fixing a lot of the issues that come across that. I've noticed with 10 looking a lot better. Oh, yeah. Not being able to use plugins. What do you mean by plugins, though? Are we talking about in the desktop environment? That really depends on the desktop environment. I mean, on GNOME, you have GNOME tweaks. You have ability to add different plugins. On KDE, I know they have their thing. KDE, I tried it out for a little while ago. I personally prefer the Mac-like aesthetic because I came from Macland a few years ago. So that was just one of the things I couldn't figure out with Tuxedo OS, which is why I went to System 76, because I'm like, look, I've spent like 3 days trying to figure out how to get the UI the way I wanted. System 76 has it out of the box. That was just it. So I'm curious what you mean by that. What's the difference between System 76 and any other laptop? Just slap on that Linux distro. Well, you have to understand that System 76, Tuxedo Computers, Purism, and there's a few other companies out there. They are Linux-first OEMs. They are companies that are focusing their hardware for Linux support first, whereas the other ones primarily are Windows first. So if you get those laptops, you can install Windows on them, but generally it's interesting because they'll say, oh yeah, we can install Windows on it. Here's some drivers for it, but if you run into issues, you're kind of on your own. Whereas when you get, like, say, a Lenovo, a Dell, a lot of this is changing, though. You know, HP, things like that. A lot of these attitudes are changing because now you can buy these laptops with Linux pre-installed. They will kind of go, oh, you installed Linux. Well, you're kind of on your own for support. So it's flipping the support model on its head in terms of operating systems. That's the main difference. Because, you know, System 76, if you're running Pop! OS on a System 76 laptop, they will give you direct support for it. If you're running on another operating system, they will still help support you, but maybe not as deep as a level because they run their own operating system. Same thing with Tuxedo OS. They'll also support you with Pop! OS. They've helped me with a few things there when I had issues installing some drivers. But yeah. Chief Cute, looking cute today. Thank you for the compliment. Unreal Engine 5 on Linux boots up super quick. Plugins and things from the FAB asset store. All the functionality is in the Unreal Games launcher, and it doesn't work on Linux. Hey, if I change my GPU from an NVIDIA to an AMD, should I be scared about drivers? No. You shouldn't really be scared about drivers because these days it works a lot better. There are some issues. Now, in terms of Windows, there are ways to completely rip out and clean drivers. There's recommendations around using tools to completely purge the driver before you install a new one. But nowadays, it's pretty refined that you should be able to just install a new GPU with the new driver set and it should be just fine. On the Linux side of things, it's a lot easier because the AMD drivers are built into the Linux kernel. So it's honestly as simple as, oh, you need to update your AMD GPU, update your Linux kernel. So just your regular system updates. And if there's a new kernel in your repository, it will just apply those patches. Now in NVIDIA, they use their own proprietary drivers often. Now this is changing as well. They have the NVIDIA and NVIDIA Open drivers where you can use the open sourced drivers, but they're not built into the kernel, so you still have to install them. But out the box, it'll, work with, Nouveau and stuff like that. And then you can just install the proprietary drivers if you want, like what I do with my NVIDIA 3070 over here, running on an NVIDIA GPU. But yeah, switching from NVIDIA to an AMD isn't as much of an issue. It's not as much of a pain point as it used to be back in the Windows XP days, where, yeah, it was annoying. So you should be fine. The only other solution is to get plugin files and put them into your project files, but sometimes they don't work properly. Are you talking about for actual dev on Unreal Engine 5? Because I haven't actually done the dev side, so I don't have much knowledge in that area. But yeah, overall in terms of gaming with Unreal Engine, I haven't had as many issues. Because I know Oblivion Remastered is the latest example of what I've used. But there were definitely some optimizations and things that I had to do. I had to go to Nexus Mods, grab some config files, throw them into the Unreal Engine folder, not the Unreal Engine, the Oblivion Remastered folders to improve Unreal Engine performance. I know you get this question a lot, but can you compile your ham radio videos on your TikTok for beginners? All right, I do have to take some of my, so the way I'm doing, TikTok videos, because I'm trying to focus my content more towards YouTube. So anything you see from the videos where it's like sitting down in front of the camera and it looks kind of like this is a format, if you find a TikTok video like that, that is a video I originally made for YouTube. And then I have one of my mods, who is also a clipper, go in and clip the videos to be on TikTok. So you can find that video on YouTube. And generally, the TikTok is cutting out a lot of information. So, for example, I'm going to have more ham radio videos. Here, like, I can show you the little hardware that I have coming in. Well, that I do have. One second. My ham shack is over here. So, this is my new transceiver that's going to be in my ham shack. This is a Yaesu FT991A. This does HF, VHF, UHF. This is what I picked up at Hamvention. This is going to be connected to two antennas I'm going to have outside my house. I have about a 30-foot vertical dipole that's going to be for my HF, and a 10-foot vertical dipole that's going to be for my UHF and VHF connections, because this can do all of them. And with the HF, I should be able to, once I get everything tuned and everything, to be able to reach Europe and beyond. So we have this. So I'll have content around the ham shack and everything as that gets built. Right now, it's still in the box and everything, because I just went to Hamvention. I got this for $120 off, so I was like, F it. I was planning to buy it anyway. I'll buy it now, get the discount. And I'm still getting pieces in, but I need to get some mounts installed on the side of the house. And the reason why I'm waiting is I have to repair my gutters. I have to fix the roof a little bit. So I'm working on that stuff first before I start doing antennas. So around mid-June or so, that is when I'm going to be doing the install, and I'm going to be going over grounding, a lot of the things from my electrician days, because grounding is very, very much required, down to grounding the mast, grounding, setting up the lightning arresters, doing the cable, all that stuff. So we'll be talking about that, because a lot of this goes into the National Electric Code. If you're in the U.S., that's what we call it. Because this does tie into you have to bond it to your overall electrical system in terms of grounding. So the ground you need to find your ground points outside when you get into this level. Now, I do have handheld transceivers. I'm also working on teaching myself about DMR, digital mobile radio. So we'll be getting into that side of things to learn about talk groups and everything that is entailed on there. Just give me some time to work through a lot of that stuff. Interested in ham radio for prepping, but don't want my GF to think I'm crazy. It's okay. It's okay. And Alexandria, just so you know, you're more than welcome to join the Discord server. We have a Radioheads channel. There's quite a few of us that are deeply into radio, and we can get you into Meshtastic and all of that, and we're more than glad to share information. I'm learning about CW, Morse code myself right now. I'm working on emergency preparation classes, not like prepper classes, but emergency comms, so I can help coordinate with the county and even DHS in, extreme situations like, say, hurricanes, tornadoes, earthquakes. So we can actually learn about severe weather events, how to actually transmit on the severe weather net channels, as well as the DHS, FEMA, your local county, they often rely on amateur radio to, volunteer for a lot of events that happen. Yeah, definitely join the Discord. We are more than glad to help you get into that. And we can help you learn, about all sorts of things. Now, I'm still relatively new to the craft. I only have, close to a year of experience, but I'm quickly ramping up my knowledge. I've been deep into Meshtastic, ADSB to do plane spotting. Now I'm starting to get more into the Discord seems to be inactive. It's because a lot of us are doing jobs, and it's the weekend. It's a holiday weekend, but it's generally active. There's a little over 1,000 people in there. Here, I'll show you. There were chats in there as early as a few hours ago. But it's also an off day. This isn't like a noisy server, because a lot of us are busy doing a lot of other things, but there's generally activity. You can see there's a whole Radioheads channel over here. People are talking about all sorts of things radio related. You can see I was sharing off, when I picked up my new radio unit. And people sharing all sorts of things. Like somebody was sharing a Meshtastic walkie-talkie compatible replacement for the Baofeng UVK6. So yeah. Yeah, it's hard to keep up with the Discord with a full-time job. Absolutely. And that's one of the main differences that you'll find on, my Discord server versus some other Discord servers. Not knocking anyone in particular or anything. I'm just saying there's a difference between the people that are actually working in the field, having a job that do this thing, versus people that are, students, or, are just starting in the field. Once you actually are in the career, you find you don't have as much time as you would like to have for, goofing off and doing all the networking and gaming that you would like to do. That's just the honest truth. See you later, Alexandria. Thanks for hanging out. But, yeah, so, because I notice this a lot with a lot of Discord servers, is you'll go in and they're like, oh my god, the server's so busy, but then you realize when you're talking to the other people that a lot of them are still, and I'm not knocking this by any means, relatively green to the field. And you have a lot of free time earlier in your career. I will be honest. Most of my time is spent, if it's not, working on the adult regular stuff that you need to do, just like your house and, all the responsibilities you have there, it's also spent, trying to work on my career, work on the different things I'm teaching myself and everything. But I do my best to keep active in there. Like, there's a movie night every Saturday. You're all more than welcome to join in on the Discord voice channel. We just watched Terminator 3 this past weekend. And I still got to decide what we're going to be watching this weekend. We may be watching The Truman Show or something. I'll figure it out. But we have a movie night every Saturday. It's why there's no serious software devs making TikToks. They are deep in sprints and scrum teams. They don't got time to goof off. That's absolutely true. That's why I question a lot of these cybersecurity content creators that are out there. The only reason that I have the content that I do on cybersecurity is because I was, in the middle of the pandemic. I had free time. Now, if you've noticed, ever since, it's kind of like slowed down a little bit. And I keep doing this because I have a community. But the people that are actually out there doing the content and, doing the work aren't making content as much because they're doing the thing. They may be brought into some content shows like Darknet Diaries, things like that. But if you notice, there's also a lot of BS with content creators that are in the professional IT and cybersecurity space. Like, you get all these people like, you can make 90K in 90 days. And like, they try to tell you like all these BS ways of like, yeah, you can just go straight into the site. They're trying to sell you a bag of goods. They're trying to sell a course that they themselves aren't really well established in their career or whatever. I'm just being honest. And if you think I'm full of it, go to the cyber events. Meet the actual people there. You have local OWASPs. There's even local DEF CON groups that you can attend. Local B-sides that happen yearly around the world, literally. There's like ones in, all in South America, ones in Europe. You can go to DEF CON. If you're over in Europe, you have the Chaos Communication Conference, which I would love to make it out there one year. One year I'll make it out to the Triple C. That sounds like a really, really cool convention, and it'd be really interesting to see cybersecurity conferences in the EU. But yeah, DEF CON, if you go and you meet people, a lot of the people there are from all different levels, but a lot of them, they're focusing on their game. And when I'm making content, the honest truth, I always have to weigh how much time I want to spend making content versus learning the thing. And what I try to do is strike a balance between learning the thing to share with you all to make content, because I want to learn the thing too. And I know a lot of other people want to learn the thing too, because one thing that I learned while I was when we were all in lockdown and everything was the amount of people that are interested in all this stuff but don't have community. And that's one of the hardest things that I have to educate people on. Is one of the most important things in building your career up isn't what you know, but who you know. And that's why I'm trying my best to strike a balance so that I can give back to the community, so the next generation has itself, with a good head on their shoulders as to what to expect and how to work with this field. Because there's a lot of BS. There's a lot of misinformation out there. There's a lot of grift. There's a lot of cons when it comes to, getting people in the field. I mean, I see even, what was it? I was, Microsoft. I've done a little. I'm not the best at it. Like, I've done, 2 or 3 jobs. Like, here's one of the ones, I can show you that I did. And that was merely so I could teach myself it. And it was a horrible job. So this is my DEF CON Aerospace Village badge. So if you look at the corner where the antenna is, there's a tiny little capacitor right by C104. Let me see if I can point that out. Like that little guy, that little grain of rice kind of size thing. Looks like a tiny little nodule right there. That's like one of the few micro soldering things I've done. And that was because I soldered in the antenna, sloppily kind of, it works. And I realized when it was pointed out to me when I was talking in the Aerospace Village chat, they're like, you may have burned off the capacitor there. So I had to go get another capacitor, solder that in, and I was like, well, it's a learning opportunity. Not the best, but it worked. I did that on a past stream as well. Yeah. So I like to, at least dabble with different things. Not that I'm necessarily the best at it, so I can learn a lot of the different concepts. And then a few things that I do get deep into, I'm like, I want to learn this. Like radio right now is the passion that I have. I want to get into HF. I want to get into Morse code and CW. I'm really looking forward to getting into that. And I'm setting a goal for myself that next year I can get the amateur extra license. I think that'd be fun. Not necessarily that I need the amateur extra license. It only gives me, like, access to a few extra bands and everything. The general gives me the majority of what I want to do. And one of the architects at work that got me into radio pretty much said the same thing. He's had the general license for like 20 years. He told me general's really all I really need. He wants to get amateur extra right now because, don't know what happened there. The TikTok is going wee. I don't know what happened there. I saw it like reset. That was weird. Anyway, but yeah, I do honestly think, and I've said this before and I'll say it again. If you're looking to get into networking, especially in the world that we live in right now where wireless communication, specifically Wi-Fi, is so predominant, you should learn ham radio. The reason why is by virtue of getting your ham radio license, you learn so much more about antennas, signal propagation, and a lot of that knowledge translates into wireless communications overall beyond just ham. I have a much better understanding of wireless device positioning and signal propagation than I ever did before. That, before people would spend tons of money to get these like survey system, these wireless survey systems and everything, just so that, because they didn't understand a lot of that. And now I'm starting to understand it even more. The concept of a repeater and all these different things, it plays into Wi-Fi signal propagation. And then you get to understand by virtue of that, a lot of things with like wireless interference, a lot of these concepts that you learn getting your ham radio license apply to networking every day. And I honestly wish I got into ham radio a decade ago because it would have better prepared me in terms of networking many, many years ago. Even though I'm more in the cybersecurity side of things and I don't do networking as much, those lessons are still invaluable to me. So if I can give one piece of advice out there, definitely consider learning about ham radio. You don't need to buy an education course out there. Some people do benefit from them. But if you do, I definitely recommend Ham Radio Prep. I do have a discount code with them for, 10% off Chief Geek 3D. I'm not getting any kickbacks on this. This was just, I hit them up and said, hey, can I get a discount for, people that want to use it? I'm not getting any money out of this. The only affiliation I have is I'm getting you a 10% discount code. If that affiliation status ever changes, I will, of course, always be transparent with you like everyone. But this is something I've used for almost a year myself, and I've enjoyed it. I'm even using their emergency comms 101 to learn about emergency communications, as well as their HF prep class for high frequency, for the, lower end of the it's kind of confusing when they say HF, VHF, and UHF, because you have HF, which is high frequency, which is the lowest part of the ham radio spectrum, really, that you mostly deal with. And then you have VHF and UHF, very high frequency, and ultra high frequency. So, yeah, definitely check that out. Heard there was a famous Russia radio station that has been transmitting the same code for like 50 years over the same frequency. Yes! Yes, there definitely has. Can't remember what it is off the top of my head. Russian radio station, broadcasting, I think since 1973. Is that what you're talking about? UVB 76? Is that what we're talking about? UVB 76? Hold on, I'm going to get my audio going here. So, yeah, so you got UVB 76. And this is another cool thing. If you're not deep into radio yet, and you just want to tinker around to see what you can receive, you can always get yourself a software-defined radio. I have some of these, I think, in my links in bio. This little SDR over here is pretty great. Wider frequency than the other RTL SDRs. You can pick it up on Amazon, really inexpensively. I think that was like $50. And you can get yourself like a basic antenna like this has. Of course, better antenna, better signal, and if you can, stick that outside your window. Like I said, you'll learn more about signal propagation and being able to tune your antennas and all that as you start doing a ham radio. But it's a great way to start in. Anyway, so as you can see, there's, UVB 76. Rumored to be run by the military broadcast burst of mysterious messages. And this has been since the 1970s. There are number stations out there that just broadcast numbers and all that. So as you can see, this is a waterfall spectrum over here, so you can see where the actual signal is, as well as a trail over here. And you can see this is just broadcasting a signal. And you can see, the bands that it's on right here. Geomagnetic field. This is the 12 meter to 10 meter band. I can't really see what band this is broadcasting on. But yeah, you can see. You just want a simple one to listen to air traffic control. So all you need to do is get a ham radio that has air bands. So a good one out there, and I actually have a link in bio for this radio out there. If you just want a good handheld transceiver, you can get the TID Radio H3. Like I said, I have links in bio for this, so if you want to support the channel, it helps out a little bit. This little guy over here, I got one of these. I haven't really worked on it myself, but this does support aviation bands. So, there you go, airband. You should be able to listen to the airbands there. That should help you figure what you want to do. But yeah, it's a very inexpensive handset. You can pick it up for like $30 as a little kit there. The dual battery set will run you about $43. That's what I have. The dual battery set's a little bit better. The reason why is it comes with the standard antenna here. This antenna I find is a little bit better for like GMRS, but the 771 antenna over here will get you a little bit better distance and receive a little bit better. And the frequencies you're probably wanting to play around with. But you can find the links in bio for this. You can program this over Bluetooth, so you can get all of the channels and everything. You don't have to worry about a code plug or anything. And it works with the NOAA weather as well. So it's a pretty great radio. I have this. It's a companion device to my H8, but I'm also switching over to... here, I will show you a radio that I picked up while I was at Hamvention. I have not really played around with this yet. This is my first DMR, digital mobile radio handset that I got. This is the Anytone AT-D168 UV. So, it's a little less expensive version than the D878. So, it doesn't do GPS like the other one does. The one advantage that it actually has is, you can put satellite in there so you can actually potentially see what's close by to you. So it has some advantages. I got to play with this a little bit more. I may pick up a D878 UV2. I've been looking at that because there was the Kenwood unit I was picking up, but that's D-Star, another digital standard that isn't as well popular. That's more popularized with the Japanese Amateur Radio League, I believe it was, whereas DMR is a little... It was an industrial standard that we picked up on, but this was an inexpensive set. As you can see, this package I got was about $650 or so dollars. They gave it to me for $200 when I was there. But it's a nice and expensive, well, because it was the Bridgecom University and the little handset and the code plug and yeah. So. But yeah, overall, that is a good one if you're looking at aviation bands to do air traffic control. Now, bear in mind, in the United States, it is legal to listen to air traffic as well as the planes that are talking and all that stuff. My understanding is, and people can correct me out there, this is not legal in places like the UK. You cannot listen to these kind of communications, although I don't know how exactly they would track you if you're just listening, because those are just, you know, out there. But yeah, keep that in mind. Make sure to always comply with your local laws and regulations. And as always, if you're going to get into ham radio, you do not need a license to listen to transmissions. You do need a license to transmit. And there are 3 classes in the United States of licenses for amateur radio. Technician is the lowest. You can generally study that in an afternoon and pass the test. General is the next level up that gives you the access to most of the frequencies. And then you have amateur extra, and that's the highest class. So there's a whole bunch of rules, regulations that go into it, but yeah. Yeah, you have to pay attention to all the different laws. So I was actually studying up on the amateur radio laws because I have friends up in Canada, and I was thinking in a year or two, I may go up to Canada and am I able to broadcast? Well, it happens to be in Canada, we have reciprocity. I just have to remember when I use my call sign, I have to do / whatever our country code is. So I have to, you know, call like yada 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 / I think it's NAAG. I got to figure out that. I wasn't deep into my mind, a priority to, focus on. But you always need to understand the rules and regulations. We as, and another reason to get the general license in the U.S. is that if you ever travel internationally, a lot of countries that will allow you to transmit under a U.S. license require at least a general class license to be able to do so. So technician, if you're not planning to do anything heavy, is more than enough for most people to get their feet wet, transmit, make some contacts and everything like that. I will be getting into the applications and stuff that I recommend to log your contacts and stuff like that, as well as some other things. I'm, still getting deeper into that side of things. Another thing that I would consider as well is that if you do get a ham call sign, just remember that call sign is attached to an address. You can attach it to a P.O. box, as I have done, because anyone can look that information up. So keep that in mind. That's also why I don't give my call sign out, just so you're aware. And it's one of those things where there's only like people that have actually met me know my call sign. I hope the FCC changed those rules, but yeah. But yeah, there's interesting things you can find contacts for. But there's people all over the world in terms of ham radio. I believe in the United States, we have about 250,000 people registered for ham radio. Oh, no, I was wrong. 750,000 licensed hams in the USA and over 3 million people in the world. So you have a nice sized community of going out to communicate with people. And it's a worthwhile skill, I think, especially in terms of emergencies. I definitely recommend it. And there was definitely a resurgence during COVID times to get into amateur radio, which is a big reason why I started picking up on it. But I definitely, recommend getting into it. It's a fun hobby, but just like anything in tech, you can definitely sink quite a bit of money into this field. So don't spend more than you can afford to lose. Now, a lot of people will tell you to start out with a Baofeng radio. I'm not a real big proponent of Baofeng. They're great to start out with. I started with one. I'd probably stick you to a TID radio H3 or H8 to start out with. They're about the same price, a lot better features, just as capable. But then I would tell you to quickly get into some better equipment as you go on. Now, in terms of a base station, you're going to have to do a little bit more research into what you're going to want and everything. That's going to take understanding antennas, placement, design, to get where you want. And that's where it requires a little bit more research and know-how between, impedance matching, especially if you're on the HF side. HF, from what I'm noticing, is requiring a lot more effort. But another thing that's really cool is there's ways to get around designing your antennas. I've seen people actually use their own gutters as an antenna. There's ways to do that. Of course, you would need a tuner for your antenna to be able to do the impedance matching there. I'm probably not going to get into making my own antenna for at least a little while until I get the basics, start understanding how it goes. Then I'll start getting into parks on the air where I want to get the Chameleon MPOS kit I've talked about before, get a system, set that up in a park, and then start, transmitting from there. I want to get a rugged laptop to be able to do some of that stuff on the go. That'll be a project for next summer, I think. If at all, maybe a little later. I'm hoping to get that set up before DEF CON next year. That'll be fun. Go to Vegas, set up in a hotel, and see what contacts I can make from a hotel room. We'll see what I can do out there. We'll figure it out. I will probably be bringing my handheld transceiver at least to DEF CON this year. There is the RF Fox Hunt that they do every year, and I've wanted to do it the past 2 years, and the issue was they only have a couple loaner handhelds, but they usually have extra antennas, and this year I want to have my own handheld, tune it to the frequency they have, and do the RF Fox Hunt. I think that'll be fun to do. Yeah, and that's another thing you should be aware of is if you're getting into ham radio, do things properly, because if you aren't, there are people actively seeking out people that are doing anything improper or illegal. And people are like, oh, I'll just do pirate radio. And you'd be surprised how many people actually get in trouble. And the FCC is one of those few agencies I would not F around with. They mean business. Yeah. It's Lizzo. Hey, man, I love your stream. And I love you for being part of my community, buddy. Thank you for being around. But, yeah, I'm really excited to get deeper into radio and finding another hobby that I can tinker with. I've really been enjoying Meshtastic as well. When I was at Hamvention, it was really cool to make contacts with people over Meshtastic. And I do want to start, networking with people locally, as I have been, to, be able to get people more involved, especially in emergency preparedness. Because one of the things is everybody talks about, oh, well, I need to prepare for, in case you have an SHTF situation. Well, how does one do that? You have to prepare before a situation happens. Otherwise, you are going to be boned. I'm trying to do that right now with my family. I may pick up some more Meshtastic devices for them So that way we can do that. I want to be prepared for tornadoes, and what radio should I get? So there's a few options you can have. Now, first off, you can go watch the YouTube video that I have that talks about CB, GMRS, ham, Meshtastic at the high level. We'll be getting deeper into these as I make more content. Ham radio is definitely one of the routes I recommend the most, but of course you do have to go and get a license to do it properly, because when there are severe weather storms and everything like that, there is networks that are set up to work with DHS for FEMA so that you can coordinate messages, because when you got to think about comms are hit, like your cell tower's down, the internet's down, how are messages relayed out? Well, they are relayed out through ham networks usually. So there are talknets that they are passing messages where literally they are getting together at certain times saying, anything to report from northeast, I have this message to relay. What's the key to check to make sure the whole message went through? They give you the word that was in the middle. The key is 9 words in. So yeah, you do that, you read it back, you pass the message, they pass it along to the next group until it hits the final intention, or at least, like say you're trying to get a communication out to someone that has a phone, and your phone line's knocked out for hours, for miles and miles out. Well, they're passing it along till they get to someone that can actually relay the message over a phone, and then say, hey, I'm looking for John Doe. We are missing John Doe from this family. We need to relay this, or I need to make sure, Jane Doe is okay in this family, and pass it along. So yeah, and these talk groups meet usually weekly in your local county. You can check Google and different things like that to see what groups are in your area, and they practice usually weekly. Like I know there's a severe weather group that meets every week here. There's a emergency, the Aries group, the amateur radio emergency services group. There's I forget what the other one is. There's RACES as well. That there's these different groups, and they work with the U.S. government and local municipalities to transmit this. What's the simple setup? Is there one I've never used before? Yeah, so to do, you can do that. There's also GMRS. GMRS is General Mobile Radio Service, which is it's the same thing as FRS in terms of frequencies, but a little bit more powerful. The same thing, you go to a store and you buy off the shelf, like the little toy section, where they're like, 22 channels. That's FRS. GMRS, $35 license, no test required, can do that. That's great for families, to communicate out with. But ham, it's as simple as you can get a handheld setup. I was just showing this a little bit earlier. If you go and to my links in bio, I have the setup that I recommend for a lot of people out there. The TID H3 and H8 are really great setups for a lot of people to start with. They're about $40. They're great. Just remember, if you're doing ham communications, you need a license before you can transmit. You do not need a license to listen. But yeah, you have the H8 and the H3. The H8 is a little bit more powerful, and H3 is just as great. H3 has aviation band, so if you're listening to air traffic control, planes, stuff like that, it's great for that. But generally, for most people, the average person, I would recommend the H8. It's a good, I wouldn't say low quality, it's an okay quality setup there. You can find the link in bio for this. If you buy it through the links, of course, it gives me, a couple bucks to support the channel and everything, but you don't have to do that if you don't want to. But if you get the battery set, you can get, it comes with a longer range antenna, the 771, which is what I slap on most of my stuff. And it comes in different colors, too. They have a green one. I have the clear one. And you get a couple of batteries. You get the, handset over here. And the nice thing about this versus the Baofangs, you see everybody hawking a UV5R. The difference is that with the UV5R, to program that, you'll either need to program it manually on the device or buy a plug to be able to program it over Bluetooth, whereas the H3 and H8 have the Bluetooth built in, so you can connect this to your phone and use OD Master to actually find all the repeaters and everything that you would want to do. And of course, if, the repeaters are down, you can then do simplex communications, so yeah. TID radio H8 is what I recommend to most people. Pretty inexpensive. It's great. You don't need to buy the big-ass system that I am building for my house. That's more of something I'm trying to do for myself. And this H8 and the H3 are both capable of GMRS as well. So if you want, you can get a GMRS as well as a ham radio license. And the license, by the way, once you get it, it's $35 to get your license for GMRS, another $35 for ham. They last 10 years. And GMRS has the other advantage that, and I talk about this in my YouTube video, GMRS, if you get a GMRS license, it covers everyone in your immediate family in your household. All you have to do is add those people to your license, and you can cover your family. So then you can just start handing out GMRS radios to everyone in your family, and they're covered. Whereas ham, everyone would have to be individually licensed. So what you can do is be like me, where, you know, for example, I would be recommending everyone in my family getting GMRS because we're in different households. But I then could say, hey, I can be the ham operator and then relay messages to the GMRS side of things. But I'd be hopping channels, of course. And the cool thing with GMRS as well is you can install a up to 50 watt repeater, so you can get some pretty decent range with the 50 watt. FRS allows up to 2 watts depending on the channel, whereas GMRS allows up to 5 watts. And then ham, of course, your limitation is up to 1500 watts on some channels, but 100 watts is more than enough. To give you an idea, this little guy over here, you're never really going to run into a 1500 watt situation without a repeater. This guy over here, this is a 100 watt system. Some of the higher end systems have 200 watts. You're never going to find one out the box that is 1500 watts. That's a more advanced setup. And 100 watts will get you range. I mean, like, I was talking with my friend from work that got me into ham radio. He's been doing it for 20 years. He's doing HF on a 100 watt system, ICOM radio, and we were hitting contacts while we were on the phone as far as Spain. And we're in middle America. Okay? So you can get some distance on these. Now, of course, HF will go further, but VHF, UHF will go shorter. So VHF, UHF, you can probably get a good, off that handheld transceiver in good conditions. Of course, you know, height, positioning, all that kind of stuff, it matters when you're talking about ham radio. It's signal. You can probably get 30, 40, 50 miles on a ham radio, a basic handheld one. It depends on a myriad of factors. I mean, even the weather, you know, and the time of day. But there's ways you can bounce the signal, like with HF and stuff like that, off the ionosphere. You can bounce it off of buildings. There's a lot of fun things you can do with radio signals. I've talked to people that have actually bounced signals off the International Space Station to get a further range. And then, of course, you know, if you understand the geomagnetic, I forgot the term. I'm in the middle of studying it. I should know this. But if you understand how you can actually do the signals, the sun actually helps or hurts your signal depending on that. So there's ways that you can actually measure how far the signal can possibly go. There's things like the K index and all that you can monitor. There's a lot that goes into radio that you wouldn't believe. So definitely interesting hobby, especially in the situation where we just had where Portugal and Spain were, can a huge TV dish help? Potentially, but they are directional, but they are signal specific. So dishes tend to be, I could be wrong, but I think those are in the QHF or whatever, like 60 gigahertz. Tunneling with atmosphere with MFHF, yeah. Is there a lot of math for the technician license? No. The math is basically Ohm's law. That is the main thing you need to know, as well as the basic formula to figure out the bands. So that is as simple as you take the speed of light, which is constant, 300 million meters per second. So you take 300 for your megahertz, and let me see if I can remember this off the top of my head. So if you take 300 divided by, let's say, 144. Yep. So that would be a 2-meter band. So what does that mean? So 300 for 300 millimeters per second, because we're talking in megahertz. We knock off a few zeros. And that gets you around the 2-meter band. What does that mean? The wavelength takes 2 meters. I think my math's right there. Let me double check that. Calculating wavelength. Yeah, wavelength equals speed of wave divided by frequency. So, yeah, that takes light. Okay, yeah. So that's roughly 2 meters. Yeah, there we go. My name, Chief Geek 3D. My name, Jeff. My name is Jeff. So a huge TV dish isn't necessarily going to help. So if you're talking about directional antennas, let me show you what you would actually be looking at more. Now, you don't need to buy these antennas. You can build antennas. Let's make this very clear. So there's a great, supplier out there. There's a few other ones out there. But this is DX Engineering. So you can get like a directional antenna out here, beam antenna. And you can get, a Yagi. So these are directional antennas. Now, these are the expensive ones. You can get some cheaper ones out there. Now, remember, they're resonant to certain frequencies. You also got your dipoles out there, too. Dipoles are pretty great as well. But as you can see, they're resonant to different frequencies, like 14 to 14.3. Yeah, these are definitely HF oriented. You got like 2 bands over here. Yeah, and they can get, kind of expensive, as you can see. But here's the honest truth. A good antenna is more important than a good transceiver. You can do far better with a good antenna on a crap transceiver than you can do on a good transceiver with a crap antenna. All you need to know in terms of the technician side of things is Ohm's law. Oh yeah, good cable too. That's 2. But that I clumped that in with the antenna because it all goes into that kind of equation of things. Ever heard of the Herjavec group? No, I have not. Cole's law. No, Ohm's law. OHMS. OHM apostrophe S. Ohm's law is something you should know when it comes to any kind of electronics. So what that is, I learned this when I was back in my electrician's days. Ohm's law is how we calculate power. So the way you can actually do this, voltage, and I stands for current, never understood why they use that, and then R is the resistance. So resistance is usually in ohms, current is amperage, V is your voltage, and then W would be your wattage. Are you into 3D printing? Yeah, hell yeah. I 3D printed my own soldering case here. That's my soldering iron. A pine sol with a case that I 3D printed. I don't do as much 3D printing as I used to because I've been so busy with all my other hobbies. But, yeah, 3D printed a little case for my flash drives. My friend just bought a Prusa Core one. Thoughts? I want a Prusa Core. I have a Prusa Mark 3S. They're great 3D printers. I love Prusa. I love the company. I love everything Joseph Prusa has really done to revolutionize 3D printing. I've never really particularly been a fan of Bamboo Labs, even though everyone was like, oh my God, the Bamboo Labs is so fast and plug and play. Like, I understand that aspect of it. It is easier to use. But there was always this itch in the back of my mind that Bamboo Labs is making too much of their crap proprietary and forcing you into their ecosystem. I'm like, they're going to do some janky BS in the future, and watch. People are going to get pissed off. And sure enough, they did. They were doing some things around controlling what hardware you could use with your 3D printer and stuff like that. I understand people wanting to get a 3D printer that's plug and play. But I really want to have a 3D printer that's fully open source because I have full control of my 3D printer. So I really want to get a Prusa core. I just can't justify the spend on it right now. But maybe next year I'll get a new 3D printer. But I have 2 Prusa Mark III S's. I've got to do maintenance on both of them. One is a clog. The other one just needs its belts replaced because they've stretched out from all the printing I've done. But mine are modified to the point they can do polycarbonate. That annoys me is that I found out is the camera that you can purchase with it is online only. What, the Bamboo or the Prusa? Couldn't figure out from there. He bought that too. Regrets it. Well, for my camera, what I did was I used the Logitech C920 webcam, plugged that into a Raspberry Pi, use Octoprint, and then just use that to control my thing. Now, of course, my setup's just a little bit dated, but I have enclosures and everything. I 3D printed the parts for and everything, and they're still reliable. Oh, Prusa does? Yeah. I don't see why you bought their printer, their camera kit, unless there's something specific about it. I do want to get their Prusa core. It's not that expensive, though. It's $949 for the kit. I'd probably get an extra satin sheet. It's about 1G. That's not too bad. Where's the camera, though? What camera are you looking at? I'm a little confused. Scroll down on the Core 1 page. Okay, I'm looking. Did I scroll past it? Oh, here we are. A high-resolution camera add-on. Buddy 3D. So it looks like you have an antenna, and it's USB-C, and it looks like they have a 3D printed enclosure for it. Requires a Wi-Fi connection to work. It's not a bad price. I'll just say that. USB-C power only. It's not the worst. Look, for 40 bucks, it's not bad. That's still cheaper than my webcam. My question is, what is the camera quality on that guy? The other issue is that it's Wi-Fi only. How do you connect that? Only Prusa link? Ooh, that's annoying. Because I would like to hook this up to Octoprint. Now, my question is this enclosed out the box? Oh, it looks like it has an enclosure out the box. That's nice. Now, are the parts PETG? Okay, this might be the one thing I'd probably add as a filtration thing. The filtration makes sense. Especially if you're doing ASA and stuff. That's not too bad. Yeah, I'd love to get one of these units. The filter makes more sense than the camera, to be honest. The camera's nice to have, but you can always slap on your own. And I'm pretty sure if you go to Thingiverse or, you know, Printed Solid, well, not Printed Solid, the Prusa website they have for 3D models here, you can find stuff to work with that. Now, my question is, these pieces it has, are they... Oh, 75-degree overhangs? That'd be a nice upgrade. But what I'm curious about is, I like that print size. It's a little, the bed is a little bit larger. Does this work with ASA out the box? Because the issue with the stock Prusa Mark 3S that I had was I had to reprint all the parts that were in PETG to be in ASA, at least on the hot end, to be able to support that. I'm curious. The other annoying thing, this is just me, is if you look at the spool size, it looks like it only supports the 1 kilo spools. What do you do if you have the larger spools that are like 2.5, 5, 10 kilos? It works with ASA out the box. Okay, does it do polycarbonate out the box? I think it does polycarbonate. That'd be nice. Now, I'd probably have to swap the nozzle for a tungsten one. What nozzles does it use? It's probably not using the V6 nozzle anymore. Oh yeah, you can print polycarbonate. I've made some items in polycarbonate. It's not easy to work with, but I've done it. You can even print in PEEK, which is extremely high temperature material. Extruder, Nextruder, Direct Drive, E3D V6 compatible. Okay, so it does support a V6 nozzle. Okay, it's got an aluminum hot end. Max nozzle temperature is 290. You'd probably have to tinker with the firmware to get to about 300. Well, that's because I'm running a tungsten nozzle, so I have to run it extra hot. MMU3 support. It's got Ethernet built in. Nice. Yeah. PLA, PETG, Flex, PVA, polycarbonate right there. So it says it does it. And when using the optional ABS, ASA, HIPS, and PA. Okay. Huh, nice. Is it clear? Usually. Hold up, what's this? Oh, okay, it's got a duct in there. So what I'm curious about is Prusa Core 1 tungsten nozzle. Okay, someone has made it. Tungsten carbide? So it's tungsten carbide, but the tungsten side is only in here. I don't know if I like this design. So I see what they're doing. They're having the heat path more of the way so that you can print faster, which totally makes sense. Okay, so you've got Prusa hardened nozzle with nickel plated. You've got the Prusa nozzle obsidian. E3D Prusa nozzle obsidian. Diamondback Prusa Nextruder nozzle. Shiny, kinky. Okay, let's see. Especially when I don't see any, just obsidian, or whatever they're calling it. Yeah, PET G carbon fiber is one of the materials I have that I use. But I suspect that Nextruder can actually fix a lot of issues I had with clogs. So let's see. You have... parts and accessories. Nozzles. V6... Oh, I see. So you can do that to have your existing V6 connect to it. I just don't know if I'd do that. I'd rather have all one piece for high flow. So let's see. So E3, of course it's out of stock because it's probably the most cost-effective one. That is nice that they got rid of the PTFE tubes. That was a pain to set those up. Obsidian is especially hard, making it a deal for blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I'd probably be looking at something like this. Now, the reason why I would rather have a tungsten nozzle overall is if there's any clogs, I probably would burn it off. Are soluble supports widely supported yet? Yeah, that's HIPS. HIPS is a soluble support. I just don't use it much. So I'm not the best person to ask. There is a 3D printing channel. I haven't been too active in there, though. Gonna be on Discord tonight? Probably not. Just because after this ends, I probably will be going to bed, because I have a long day of working on the backyard. I'm trying to get the backyard together because I have to do a lot before I can start installing my antennas for my ham radio, and part of that was clearing trees. Trees do affect your transmission capabilities, for at least VHF and UHF, and somewhat HF, but yeah. So I've been cleaning that out, working on getting the new fence installed so I can keep my dogs in, because I want a 5-foot fence. I gotta start pouring concrete in some of the holes. Yeah, believe it or not, I'm one of the few nerds that actually will get down and dirty. Now, of course, I'm leaning on my friends that are landscapers to do a lot more of the work because I'm still relatively new to this, but I'm getting my hands on, like, I don't know if y'all saw this in the Discord the other night. I got rid of this gnarly root outside of my house. This root, this little tree sucker here, was actually in the fence. Like, you can see the pieces of chain link we had to cut around it. We had to dig like about a foot down, use a pickaxe and stuff to pull that out. It took us about an hour to get through that. So, just to give you an idea. So, yeah. Everyone's like, hey, I want to be a homeowner. Then they realize all the work you have to do to be a homeowner. Homeownership sucks! Just saying. But yeah, I'm probably not going to be on the Discord tonight. I am on the Discord, at least in chat, and I try to be in there several times a day to chat and be active in the community and everything. And of course, if people tag me, I will try to get around to it, unless you're being annoying about it. for the most people, I'm pretty chill and I'm trying to help out. Just the one thing I ask is don't think that I'm going to be your only sole resource. The whole point of the community is that we all can be a community and come together, learn, grow, and evolve together. And I think that's what makes my community so special, is that a lot of us do that. Now, let's change gears. We got a little bit of Doom to catch up on, because I've taken kind of a break. Oh, by the way, next week, we will be changing up the streaming schedule for at least a couple of months, because I have a class that I'm going to be taking. So Wednesday nights, I will be taking a class, at least until the end of July. I may be moving my streams to Fridays. It'll be Sunday, Monday, Friday. I think. We'll figure it out. But, yeah, so we will be changing up some things. And I'm still trying to create at least, one video a week if possible. I've kind of slacked this week because, of course, I had all the stuff with house repairs and maintenance and everything. But I think we'll get into some really fun stuff. There's going to be radio content. There's going to be cybersecurity content. There's going to be tech content and all that. That's what I think is pretty interesting about my content is we've got gaming, but it's gaming on Linux. We've got radio. We've got cybersecurity. Okay, so we just started this level over here. Okay, so we got to get a secret key for that.
That heart powers the forge. It needs to be reactivated.
Okay, so what upgrades do we have? Parrying a hell surge attack instantly charges your chain shot. Okay, that sounds great. Although I personally like the cycler a little bit more. I'm glad that we figured out the little tweaks to get the 3070 working well with this game. It was Linux kernel preemption and tweaking some of the graphics settings. Wait, I think I saw... Oh, you a big boy, huh? Shit. Shit. Let's retry that. I didn't have a nice flow. I'm curious. What graphics settings do we have this on? Low? Let's see if medium works a little bit better.
The mine is open.
I love how they realized in this game everybody just loves a shotgun, so they made it your primary. That looks like a rocket. Do we get a rocket launcher?
That heart powers the forge. It needs to be reactivated.
Okay, so I keep my upgrades. There we go. Got some armor. There we go. Oh, didn't even need the armor that time. What's that do? These guys need some Ozempic. There we go. Wish you could run a little bit faster. He feels kind of slow on these big maps. Okay. Got some gold. What the hell is that? Looks like I need to do something with that. Just don't know what. Okay. That does nothing. Okay, come on. You ain't nothing but a hound dog. Man, I remember when those guys would take the snot out of me. Okay, those are just decorations. Shit. Oh, you gonna give me some health? Yeah. God damn it. Sup, Declan? I guess we'll use one sigil. Oh, shit. I didn't realize I only had 2. Thought I had 3, and I could spare it. Nope. I don't want to waste all my life sigils. Do I get my life sigil back? No, I do not. God damn it. Alright, let's try this again. Come on. There we go. Smashing you. Shit. Get out of here. Hey, I got the secret key while I'm at it. Come on. Alright, your armor's down. Yeah. Woo, that was a toughie. I should have used the chain shot for that, but eh. Get back to my cycler. Okay, so we got that up there. But then... I don't know exactly where I'm supposed to go, but let's see what we can find. No upgrades. Ah, there we go. Okay, so we got that dude. Had to close in on him. Let's see what's down here. Anything worthwhile? Nope. Okay, so... Oh, it looks great on Linux. That's the one thing I loved about the Doom series along with Quake, is they've always worked on Linux. I remember when they had native Linux installers for Doom 3, you just grab the Windows install, grab the installer from ID software, and then boom, in. You turn anything off for it to work this smooth? No, I did have to turn Linux kernel preemption on, and then fiddle with some of the graphics settings. I actually just upped it from low to medium because I thought that was the issue, but no. The 3070 has been doing great. Let me see, actually. Let's see if we can bump this a little bit more. Shit, did not see him. Shit! Fell off the map. Can't put baby in a corner. There we go. Smudge the gamma up a bit. Hold on. Shit. God damn it. That was close. Come on. Taking that arm. Hold on. What'd you say, the gamma? Where do I find that? Oh, hold on. I forgot to save that. Gamma. That should work. Both squares are black. That might be your device. Because it's supposed to be, like, just not visible, and this is visible to me, and this is barely visible. 'Cause it's supposed to be, like, here. Alright, let's see. Now, where do I need to go? Okay, we cleared that little statue out. Hey! Life sigil! Okay, so where do we go now? There we go. Crap. Did not mean to jump down like that. When they group up with the shields, it's the best way. Oh, yeah, that's what I do all the time. It's just hard to time them right when everything is going on. Cool. Secret key. Secret tunnel. Secret tunnel. Through the mountain. God, we're high up. Hey! Ruby! And I got the toy. You know, I miss when games, you know, would send special editions and actually give you, like, toys and materials. Nowadays, it just feels like they're just kind of phoning it in, because, I mean, like, it doesn't feel like we're getting any of the goodies these days. Like, I miss when we went to GameStop and we actually got the Skyrim packs and the Doom figures and the extra goodies. Now you just pay extra for the software and it's like, oh, you get it 3 days early. I mean, I'd totally have paid for the Doom Special Edition if I had get that, but... Not paying $30 extra just for 3 days extra to play the game before everyone else. No. Yeah, I'm trying to figure that out. Sometimes I like to do the map, don't like to use the map just to figure out the puzzle on my own. Oh, so I got that gold. Flip the switch.
Power activated. 2 more switches left.
I know I'm supposed to do something with those doggies. The glowy ones. That's your rider. Bad doggy. Bad doggy. Dead doggy. Alright, so let's see. I gotta get up there. Alright, where's the switch? There's the switch. Alright.
Almost finished. One more switch.
Okay, so we gotta get up there. How do we get up there? I see a whole bunch of... Oh, there we are. Whee! That it? Can you imagine how much that must hurt his knees? Okay, so I figured that out. Okay, so I gotta go all the way around. But there is a gold chest around the corner, it looks like. Nope. At least flip this switch over here. Cool. Switch flipped.
The heart has been primed. We can use the forge now. See you at the... elevator.
Oh. Was there anything else back here? Nope. Really? Gonna make me have to walk all the way around. Okay, what do we have in the shield? The stun duration is increased. The duration of shock applied is additionally killing a shock demon with the cycler generates more lightning arcs. Okay. What's the melee do? Flail are scorched and drop armor. That's always nice. Have to go all the way around. I wish you could run even faster. Because sometimes I just feel like it's just a little too slow. I know I've said that before, but it's true. I will stick by that point. Cool. Secret tunnel. Secret tunnel. Okay, so where are we now? I guess it's time to go after the boss. Come on, you little badass. Oh, I'm liking the new Doom. Eternal felt weird to me. But this one, I think it's got a nice pace and everything to it. I do not like when I'm in these tight areas, though. What's up, SOS? Alright, come on. Okay. Wait, no. Oh, I see. Okay, so I gotta do it. Oh, there's armor. Nice. All right. Okay, it looks like there's a little metal bit over there. What's over here? What's up, username? I'm doing alright. Just, trying to figure out this game. I hate those invisible dudes. Don't know if I can throw that far. Nope. Nope. There we go. There we go. Which game are you playing? Love the content always. I am playing Doom, The Dark Ages. The newest Doom that just came out a few days ago. Wait. Could have sworn. What I thought. Nope, missed that. Ah! God damn it. Difficulty? I think I'm on medium. I usually just do medium because I want to enjoy the game and not get pissed off. Boing! What did I get? I got the codec, got the challenge, got a new skin. Woo! Alright, let's get on through. Yeah, this game works pretty well on Linux, but then again, all Doom games have worked well on Linux. Okay, so melee. We'll wait. Is this the next level? Where the hell did she come from?
No signs of the demons, Thera.
We won't have much time.
Okay, come on.
The Ancestrals never really die. The heart endures. We harvest the energy.
Okay. Don't know what's going on, but okay.
Nim unve anme veseque sfara. Nim unve anme veseque.
The thingy's glowing in your chest. Oh, it's a camera too? I have no idea what's going on. This has strayed so far from demons on Mars. That's a big ass heart. Is that jizz? It looks like jizz just flowing down. That's a lot. Are we about the bukkake, the heart? No, the shield.
They're here, falling back. We'll meet you at the exit.
Shield runes. Parrying Hell's Surge projectiles will now activate the power of a shield rune. You have been granted the power of a ground fissure. The ground fissure creates a linear, damaging ground attack that will also interrupt enemies. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Cool. I gotta go clear all the rest of these guys out. Come on. And down goes Doggy. Shit, I still gotta clear out the rest of these dudes. Little health pack over there. Okay, where's the leader? All right, let me get a soul. Eat your heart out, bitch. More ammo. Sweet. I got a 91. I got an A minus. I didn't get a Wraith Stone. I gotta figure out how to get that Wraith Stone, though. With this lockdown demons with the sword. I didn't get any notifications on you streaming. Did the Discord not show it? Let me see. Yeah, Discord said I was live. I don't know why the other platforms wouldn't, but my Discord definitely was. It tells when I'm live on Twitch. Hell!
I can help you target her location. And the Slayers, using the tether. Yes, that would be less useful.
No harm must come to her. She is the heart of Argent.
Wait, what?
Then why didn't she use her sorcery against us?
The true scope of that human's power is unknown to her. The ceremony, it must take place in my world.
Of course.
The heart is found. Now give to me what is owed.
Hmm.
Return our God to us.
Close the gate.
Return your God. Thought you don't believe in God. I thought you repel against God.
We've tried to attack you before, but we couldn't break through to Azric's fortress. Look out for damaged Atlands. You may have to repair one to reach the target.
Nice aesthetics here. Take those guys out. Two for one. Ooh, do we got a new boom boom? Is this a rocket launcher? Rocket launcher! We now shoot boom booms. Launcher class guns, F switch guns, okay. Boing! All right, let's press on. Okay, so we need to destroy the hell cannons. Okay, what the hell am I doing wrong here? What am I doing wrong? I feel like I'm missing something. Hmm. Okay, so I did something wrong. I don't know, it just didn't activate. That makes sense.
Alert. 2 hell cannons detected.
They make big boomies. There we go.
After you take those out, We'll be clear to get one of those Atlans working again.
Updating markers.
Come on. Freaking snake thing. Okay, so melee. Nothing new that I want to get. Sweet. All right, come on. Now let's move on to the next point. Smack ya. Ooh, yeah. Boing! Eat your heart out.
Hellfire core identified. Destroy it to disable the cannon.
Okay, can't go there yet. Making sure I got every nook and cranny, though. Yeah, looks like it. Whee! That's one big boomy down.
Updating local map. One hell cannon remains.
Sweet. Come on. Oh, you frickin' snake bastard. That's right. That's why you're blown apart. Eat your heart out. Yeah, this is the new Doom. Anything else I'm missing? Nope. Whee! Looks like I can go around here. I've been replying to Windows Glazers comments. Windows Glazers? Don't know who that is. Yeah, I'm still on Pop OS. I haven't found a reason to switch away from Pop OS. It still does plenty well for what I need. Nope, nothing worthwhile getting yet. Uneducated comments on, Oh, I gotcha. Yeah, you got a lot of people that are like, well, you know, gaming on Linux, you know, is not worth it because there's this one game, and I'm like, there's tens of thousands of other games. Shit, mistimed that. Woo! 18 games that don't work, yeah. And it's all because developers make dumb decisions, not because you can't play the games on Linux. As we can see, I'm playing Doom just fine on Linux. This work out of the box for you have to do some tweaking? Oh, it worked perfectly fine out the box. The only thing I really had to do to improve gaming performance was turn on kernel preemption. But ever since I've done that, I've been able to game just fine. You also streaming through Linux? If so, how's the performance? I'm not streaming on Linux here. I have a Windows box doing all the capturing and everything. Not that I need Windows per se, although it's running some of the hardware. But, like the Elgatos and all that. But I can stream just fine on OBS with my laptop and some tests that I've done. Which I probably will be doing, like, when I'm at DEF CON and stuff. I mean, streaming on Linux is just fine. It's just some of the hardware, like the Stream Decks, the key lights, and all that I use, they really only work on Windows because they, haven't made support for Linux a priority on theirs. But it's niche streaming hardware that's really an issue. Yeah, OBS works just fine on Linux. Stop distro hopping with Bazite and set up a single GPU pass through there for COD and Tarkov. Yeah, I haven't really dealt too much with that. I mean, you could do a GPU pass through with Pop OS too. I just haven't really had a need to play Call of Duty or Tarkov. I think there's just much better games out there in general. I hear great things about Tarkov, but Call of Duty just seems to have fallen off. The last time I played Call of Duty was they were doing the World War II games. Tarkov is nearing 1.0 release status on Are We Anti-Cheat yet is planned to. What does that mean? Is that a different anti-cheat, I'm presuming? Hey, Tarkov's still not 1.0? I thought it's been out forever. I could be mistaken. Yeah, site that tracks what anti-cheat works on Linux says it's planned. Nice. See, that proves that developers can make it work. Just many of them choose not to do the right decisions that actually make it work. But now that Steam Deck is becoming a lot more popular, a lot of people are really pushing for Linux support. Epic are just too scared of Linux. Good, keep your kids on Linux. Yeah, I don't know why developers are like so threatened by just getting it to work on Linux. It's just proof that they really can't dev if they're just like, well, Linux needs it. We need the Linux support for the anti-cheat. No, you don't. Got your arm. Got your leg. Got your heart. Part of the reason I switched to Linux devoid of playing Fortnite with my stepchild. Yeah, I don't understand why all these games are still like, well, we don't want it to work on Linux. I think Fortnite at one point did work on Linux. I could be mistaken. To be fair, I've never really understood the appeal of Fortnite, but that's just me. The thing is, you don't keep the loot, so, I don't keep playing. What do you mean you don't keep the loot? Like, they seriously, like, what, every game restarts, or how does that work? I'm not following. I haven't really played Fortnite, so...
All hell cannons destroyed.
There's a power core nearby that still holds a charge. You can use it to get the other Atlas.
You get weapons, pots, items in every match, and they reset every match. Oh. So you're just playing and with a bunch of people. I got it. And then it just kind of resets every time. That kind of like is the old games, how we used to do it, but I just don't get those kind of games. I really don't. Well, at least the games they have today. I would still love to see Tribes 2 revived, or at least, some variation of it. What is the other game that just came out? Is it Midair? No, not just came out, but it's been out for a minute. I think Midair is supposed to be like the spiritual successor to it. I haven't played it much. Oh. Okay. I like your penguin has the Debian logo. Yeah, you noticed that? Got that big boy down. Yep, Doom. Kden Live or that other one? What, for my content? I use Kden Live. DaVinci is the other one. I was thinking of going to DaVinci eventually, I just haven't seen a reason to yet. There are some nice features, it looks like, in there, but I haven't, really come to a point where I need it. Give me your energy cell.
Energy level stable at 92.
Yeah, Kden Live is what I've been using for a lot of my video editing. It's been great. There's definitely some professional things I can tell that aren't there, but for my videos, they work perfectly fine. I record in OBS. Same setup I have here. I use the Elgato teleprompter, the key lights I have, and then, yeah. I got a Wraith Stone. Killing a shock demon with the based on the size of the demon, the cycler increases. Yeah, so I'm definitely going to be using that. Cause overloaded or lightning arc damage to... Nice. Okay. Ooh, that was close. I recorded a video about the VM on Bazite showing COD had to re-record Windows portion about 30 times. How much of a nightmare it is. Windows? Yeah, Windows is a pain. The interesting thing is how many times I have to explain to people, like, I don't think people realize how bad Windows is as an experience. And, like, that's why I, like, tell people all the time, like, they're like, can I use Linux Mint? And I'm like, you can, but I don't know if I'd recommend it. Because you can get much better experiences, with, other, operating systems. Oh yeah, people don't realize how bad Windows is of an experience. I mean, as a user experience until you start using it. And then they're like, wow, I can actually customize it to how I want, and it's designed for that. Whereas Windows, a lot of Windows users delude themselves into thinking that they can customize it to how they want. But no, you really can't. You can do it, but it's going to break a lot. Whereas in the Linux world, it's like, do whatever the hell you want. Yeah, like, It's amazing the amount of power you have with Linux versus Windows. Ooh. Oh. Use KDE. I use GNOME. Oh. Alright. I think that's a good point for me to stop at right now. Because tomorrow I gotta wake up and work on the yard and everything like that. But thank you all for joining me. And if you haven't already, follow me on all of my socials. I am on Twitch, YouTube, TikTok, Blue Sky, Mastodon, and of course, join the Discord and join the Matrix servers. Got a bunch of people in there, a little over 1,000 members inside the Discord server now, and a few dozen in the Matrix server. It's a little bit different than Discord, but similar experience. And yeah, we will be back on Wednesday for the next stream, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then next week, don't forget, we will be changing up the streaming schedule. I might be streaming more on Fridays for the next couple of months. I got a class on Wednesday and then Tuesday and Thursday. I may do a Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. We'll see how it goes. I'll let y'all know. There'll be an announcement in the Discord. But thank you all for joining me. Stick around for the raid if you're ever on Twitch. Otherwise, stay safe. Love y'all. Happy hacking. And see ya next time.